Alrighty, I think we're ready to start. Welcome everyone. Just let me know if you can hear me or if there are any issues. Sorry, just a bit of feedback there on my end. If anyone, please introduce yourself, let us know you're here. Today we're talking about the residential code changes. Just letting everyone know that this webinar is eligible for 1 Green Star CPD point. All you have to do is interact in the chat, let us know you're here, ask any questions, and then you can also send an email through to info@SUHO for proof of attendance. So as I said, interact in the chat, ask any questions, happy to answer throughout, alright? And we have Charlotte here moderating for me, so if she can't answer anything, I'll answer it at the end. Okay, so who is changing? So we have had these in code changes for the residential code in place since the 1st of May. Basically, SA has taken on board the changes, so has Victoria. WA has another year extension period, so they'll transition in 2021. Basically, some of the other states will use what they currently have, so Queensland, they'll still continue. So what are the changes? So, as I said, the changes have been in place, however, since 2019, however, we're given a grace period until 2020. Something that we've noticed as well is it depends on what stage your application is up to. So say you've done all the planning approvals and you're up to the building stage, your certifier or surveyor may still allow you to use the 2016 code. So we highly recommend you speak to your surveyor if you've got any projects that are there that are waiting for the energy rating for the building stage. Speak to your surveyor or certifier, get them to send through an email saying that what code you're allowed to use it under, assess it under, sorry. So let's get into it and I'll give a brief explanation of 3 of the assessment methods. So basically there are 3 ways to comply with energy efficiency. The first one is deemed to satisfied. Nothing's changed with the deemed to satisfied. It's a tick box method. All you have to do is meet the minimum requirements. This one's rarely used, just basically due to the glazing. It's very hard to pass. So we can do it. However, it is not one of the preferred methods that a lot of clients take on board. The next one is the 6-star method. So this has been in place for years. Nothing new. However, it is becoming the primary method that will gain compliance. There's the introduction of the heating and cooling load limits, which I'll explain in the next slide a bit further. And the third method that we have used is verification. So you can still use it, however, it's more stringent. So it's very difficult to achieve compliance with this method due to a set recipe. So basically you need 2.4 high ceilings. Well, you don't need it. Basically what happens is we take your building and say if it's lightweight, elevated, has 3-meter high ceilings with large amount of glazing, we can't compare it as easily as we could previously under the old code. So what that means is if you've got the set recipe that we have to assess it against is 2.4 high ceilings, we need 25-degree roof pitch, we're concrete slab on the ground, so you're not comparing apples with apples, it's like apples with oranges, and then you're negatively impacted. So then in that scenario the cheapest build cost option would be 6-star. So lots of the large architectural homes that we assess here, which we are very well across, will not pass with the verification method anymore. It's beneficial to start considering this when you're designing so that you can engage an ESD consultant such as SUHO to help assist with ensuring your design meets the requirements, and the client won't have a large cost added on at the end. So let's have a discussion. So currently, a 3-star home, we're with the verification method, we're able to get a 3-star home through compliance. So it's not very sustainable, and that's what we want to encourage our clients to build better designed and better quality homes. So, as I said, in addition to the 6-star requirement, so this is a new requirement, there's been heating and cooling load limits. So these have been introduced to basically level it out throughout the whole year, so that the whole year your home is comfortable. So these are 2 examples of the heating and cooling load limits in Adelaide. So 16 and 59. You need to achieve that or less than that for your home to pass. This is in addition. So on top of 6-star, you also need to meet these requirements. Basically, we've done lots of testing here prior to the code changes coming into place on the 1st of May. And some homes, they passed the 6-star requirement, however, they were not meeting, say, the heating requirement. So that then means you might get a higher rating than 6 stars, so you might get 6.2, but then that ensures that you meet the heating and cooling load requirements. At this stage, WA, obviously they're using the old code still, and Tasmania do not have heating and cooling load requirements. I'd love to know where, if whoever's joined in, where people build, and then just pop it in the chat where you generally build, and we'll just have a conversation. So we have this zoning orientation guide that is quite useful. A lot of it is basic. It's saying, living areas to the north. If you're unable to do that, or what we recommend is you try and meet the other requirements, so then, or you have highlight windows, say, to the north, just to try and get as much natural light into the living areas. Again, your sleeping zones preferably to the east, bathroom and other utility zones such as garage to the west and south. Anything above 180 square meters, the software doesn't negatively impact it, but it gets harder and harder to gain that 6-star requirement. And then the software does prefer simple rectangle or square boxes. If you have all interesting designs and maximize the wall area, then that's when you do start to see the software decrease the rating. It's important to label all your zones, so as much detail on the plan as possible for us. And another requirement that has been introduced is the garage door in between the living areas or the hallways, wherever your garage is. That internal garage door now needs to be sealed. It's a requirement. So we'll just proceed. So I thought now we'd run through an example. So this was a large 3-story home in Victoria. As you can see, the bluish purplish zones, they're daytime zones, so we model everything. So it's always important to put labels on there, tell us what the rooms are. The grey zones are the garage and the unconditioned areas. And north is up the top, so up the top of the page. As you can see, we model the living areas. If you have a bulkhead, we have to split that zone off. More zones. The more zones that you have, the more the software does decrease the rating. As you can see, we model eaves, so that's important. If you've got a roof that's covering areas, we do need to know about that. It's also important to highlight on the plans, if you can, where the neighbouring dwellings are. So say you're building a 3-story, but next door on either side you have only singles. It's important to tell us that, so then we don't negatively impact the rating. So basically we will have to then duplicate it and model a 3-story either side, and then that could impact the rating. You might not get as much light in then into those north-facing living areas. So we'll just proceed. And then on the upper level, we've got the bedroom zones, which are the pinky colour, And we also have skylights, which we model any roof lights, any skylights, and yeah, that's just a general understanding of how we model. So this one was sitting at the initial rating after we've modelled it all up, put it in as per what the client was wanting to do. It rated at 2.7 stars. These ones always perform under the 6 star just because they are quite large and they are beautiful homes, and we do understand clients do want different homes. They don't want to just have a small little box, but it is important to then get the client on board at the start with the expectation that they may have higher costs with adding insulation or glazing. So this one I applied double glazing throughout. We changed the external walls to EPS as it had more insulation properties. Added a roof blanket, bulk insulation to the suspended floors, which not a lot of people like to do because then they have to bulk it out, obviously, and then the ceiling heights change. We've reduced some windows, sealed the garage door, 2.5 bulk insulation to the retaining walls. Again, not a lot of people like to do it, as you know, you don't spend time in the garage. You're not going to need that room to be comfortable. However, it does help increase the rating. And then basically all I could get this one to was 4.9 stars. So that's when we would have to work with you and your clients to look at design changes or just adding more north-facing elements, having less zones. The more zones you have, the more poorly performing the dwelling will be. So again, general design advice that we like to offer is living areas to the north, optimal eave design, thermally effective building envelopes. So, you know, you want to insulate, you want insulation, you want it to be comfortable. Ideally glazing to floor area ratio 20 to 30%. If you are using concrete, which a lot of these homes do, please consider using insulation, adding bulk insulation. That could be in a kind of foam product, that could be bulking it out. It could be anything, but it is highly recommended. Lower ceilings, smaller rooms, less corridors, just some general advice we like to give just so that we can help achieve compliance for these homes. So we have actually developed in our software team, Marco, has developed a software which is it's amazing. It's called Hubble, and it helps predict your star rating. So what you can do is when you're sitting there designing a home for your client, you can have it in front of you and you can enter everything how they want to build it, and you can go, okay, well, if you build it like this, it's rating at, say, 4 stars. To get it to the 6 star and the heating and cooling load requirements, you might need to do this, this, and this. So it's a great piece of software, and I highly recommend if anyone is interested, get in touch with us, give us a call, send through an email, and Marco, I'm sure, would love to come out and have a chat with you about how this can help with your buildings and with your clients. So this is the rest of the webinars for the week. I know we are already on Wednesday, so later today we'll have thermography and air tightness at 3 p.m. And then on Thursday and Friday we have some more webinars on the 10-star home, music modelling in town planning, and Hubble, which will be on Friday morning at 11. So I highly recommend if anyone is interested to come along. So I'm going to end it there. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to pop it in the chat now. And I'll stick around for a few more minutes and we'll see if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask. So just wait a few minutes. I'll just have a look. Alrighty. Well, if anyone does have any more questions, feel free to give us a call on our 1300 number, so 1300 308 525. Alternatively, happy for you to send through an email. Happy to discuss any upcoming projects you might have. Yeah, everyone's here to help you guys get ready and get prepared for the new code changes that have been in effect since the